Hello and welcome to Wordplay Wednesday. Today we are looking at some words from the story King Midas and the Golden Touch. King Midas and the Golden Touch. And in this story, there are 51 SAT words. If you are studying for your SAT exam, this story will help you learn a bunch of words. We're going to look at 3 of those words this morning. So let's dive in. I'm going to share my screen and let's get started. All right, I'm going to make that bigger so that you can see it. Excellent. All right. If you have not read this story yet or listened to it, I encourage you to go to Saturday Stories. This was from season 4, episode 4. This aired last Saturday. And this story is by Nathaniel Hawthorne. It is quite a long story, so either relax and have some downtime, or it's a great one to put on while you are trying to get some cleaning done. And you can listen to the story and you're going to pick up a bunch of new vocabulary. The first word we're looking at today is countenance. The appearance of a person's face is called their countenance, or it could also be a person's expression. Here we have, and I'll highlight it. Whoops, maybe I'll highlight it so that you can see where the word is used in this context. Here we go. Put that in bold so that you can see it. While he was in this tumult of despair, so this is talking about King Midas. If you don't know the story, he desired lots and lots of gold. He just could not get enough. And then finally, he was granted a wish, and he wanted everything he touched to be turned to gold. He thought that would just be the thing. Well, then he found out that that wasn't as good as he thought. So while he was in this tumult of despair, he suddenly beheld a stranger standing near the door. Midas bent down his head without speaking, for he recognized the same figure which had appeared to him the day before in the treasure room and had bestowed on him this disastrous faculty of the golden touch. The stranger's countenance still wore a smile which seemed to shed yellow luster all about the room and gleamed on little Marigold's image and on the other objects that had been transmuted by the touch of Midas. Lots of things happening in this passage, lots of words, lots of juicy words, but we're looking at this word countenance. So the stranger's countenance, his face, his appearance, his expression, this kind of thing, still wore a smile. We could say the photograph showed his somber countenance. You look at a picture, somebody's not smiling, they are looking somber. That is their countenance. That's how you can use this in other places, either in speaking or in writing. We can use this word, countenance. There are some synonyms. So words that we might want to use to replace this word. Now, sometimes just because it's a synonym, we can't just automatically swap it. So we still need to be aware of what is the meaning of the word that we are swapping. So if I said face, the stranger's face still wore a smile. That would work. It's not as strong as countenance, which seems to embody more than just their face. Features. The stranger's features still wore a smile. That's kind of Cold and calculating. Aspect, look, expression. The stranger's expression still wore a smile. Doesn't quite slide in there quite as nice. So when you are figuring out which word is the right word for the sentence, and you've got your thesaurus and you're looking at synonyms, read them in the sentence. And if you're not sure exactly of the nuance of the word, look up the meaning of that so you can get the right word in the right place. Next word is insatiable. Always wanting more, not able to be satisfied. Maybe you know somebody who is insatiable. You give them something and then they want more, and you give them that and then they want more. You can never satisfy them. That is what King Midas was like. That is exactly what he was like. Now here again, let me get this word highlighted. There we go. The moment the lips of Midas touched Marigold's forehead, a change had taken place. Oh dear. So everything he touched was turning to gold, and now his lips are touching his daughter's forehead. Marigold is his daughter. And this is what happens. Her sweet, rosy face, so full of affection as it had been, assumed a glittering yellow color with yellow teardrops congealing on her cheeks. Her beautiful brown ringlets took the same tint. Her soft and tender little form grew hard and inflexible within her father's encircling arms. Oh, terrible misfortune! The victim of his insatiable desire for wealth, little Marigold was a human child no longer, but a golden statue. So much happening in there, so many great words. Even just studying this paragraph, you could add to your vocabulary list. We're going to focus on this word insatiable. And as it is used in this sentence, it kind of does double duty. The victim of his insatiable desire for wealth. So insatiable being this always wanting more. So here, the insatiable desire is for wealth. And in this paragraph, this word makes sense because when you think of him and his daughter, and even his daughter is turning to gold. So he is so much in love with getting more wealth, wanting more wealth, not being satisfied with what he has, that even his daughter is turned to gold. So we see this sort of this climax of the result of his insatiable desire for wealth. I think the author used this word brilliantly in this situation. Her desire for knowledge was insatiable. So you see, each time you identify what it is that they are desiring and not getting enough of. So in this case, her desire for knowledge was insatiable. She could never get enough knowledge. She always wanted more. Which, is that a bad thing? Insatiable doesn't have to have a bad context or a negative context. However, it is this very driven kind of word. Here are some synonyms. I always want to say cinnamon buns or something instead of synonyms. Insistent. Now, insistent has a slightly different nuance to it. When you're insisting on something, you want it and you want it your way. Whereas insatiable is you just want more, more, more. But let's see if the word fits. The victim of his insistent desire for wealth. Insistent sort of implies that he is wanting his own way. It doesn't quite fit. Urgent, his urgent desire for wealth. If it was an urgent desire for wealth, there would then need to be a reason for the urgency, which we don't see that. It's just a desire. Demanding, desiring, rapacious. All right, so we can go through and fill in those. The victim of his, what did we say here? Desiring, his desire for wealth. Well, here we have insatiable desire, so we don't want to say desire, so we'd have to take that out altogether. The victim of his desire for wealth, it's kind of weak without the word insatiable. But this other word, rapacious, which also means this desire for wealth. So we could use that. And our third word for today is tumult, a state of noisy confusion or disorder. Perhaps this describes your household, a state of noisy confusion or disorder. Perhaps you are at, well, I guess we're not at a soccer game or a basketball game these days, but you've been at an event where there's lots of noisy confusion and it seems like everything is disorderly. While he was in this tumult of despair, so noisy confusion or disorder of despair, he suddenly beheld a stranger standing near the door. Midas bent down his head without speaking, for he recognized the same figure which had appeared to him the day before in the treasure room and had bestowed on him this disastrous faculty of the golden touch. So he is in this noisy confusion or disorder. So his head is just spinning. Oh my goodness, what have I done? Everything I've touched has turned to gold. This isn't what I thought it was going to be. So that's what kind of despair he is in. We had to shout to be heard over the tumult. So the chaos, disorder, and where are we here? Noisy confusion or disorder. Some synonyms here we have din. Din sometimes is like this, it's noise, but think of like a busy restaurant. That kind of noise. Racket. When I think of racket, I think of garage band in the early stages. They're making a big racket. That could be commotion. When I think of commotion, I think of a disruption to something and they're making a bunch of noise. Let's see what else here. Fracas, frenzy. And the words sort of sound like this tumultuous kind of situation where there's noisy confusion or disorder. Let's try to put some of those in. Commotion. Oh. Or not. Where are we here? So if we said racket, while he was in this racket of despair, that doesn't really fit because it's sort of this self-induced or in his head kind of thing. There's not really a racket in your head. What about commotion? Again, that's people intruding. That doesn't really work. Frenzy might work. Let's see here. While he was in this frenzy of despair, that might work, but it gives it a different flavor. So again, looking at the synonyms, it's great to have a key word. So we have tumult, and then figuring out some synonyms, because you could use those synonyms in other contexts when you need that particular flavor that the synonym has. So the three words that we were looking at: countenance, the appearance of a person's face or the person's expression; insatiable, always wanting more, never satisfied; and tumult, a state of noisy confusion or disorder. There you have it. There are 3 SAT words for you to practice, learn, absorb, use. There are 51 in this story. On Friday, we're going to do a 7-sentence story workshop based on this story, and we'll see how we can use more of that vocabulary. We'll go through the writing process from outlining, writing, and revision, all within 45 minutes. So you can practice your writing skills. We don't have to think up new ideas. We can just practice those writing skills. And when we're doing the revision, we can try adding some of these vocabulary words. Hope to see you there. And until next time, keep reading and writing. And I'm going to come back here because I would love to see you. There we go. So I hope to see you next time. And until then, keep reading and writing.